So now we're recording.
Okay.
So anyway, introduce yourselves. Tony, let's start with you.
What's up?
Tony Strand.
Tony Strand.
What businesses do you own?
All of them?
Yeah.
Even the non-profitable ones?
Yeah.
I own National Remarketing Auto Sales in Spokane Valley, National Remarketing Auto Wholesale in Spokane Valley, Airway Parts and Service Auto Repair in Spokane Valley, West Coast Screen Printing and Embroidery in the Valley, West Coast Screen Printing and Embroidery in Kennewick, co-owner of 6560 with Steve, which is a real estate investment group, Airway Heights RV in Airway Heights, Airway RV Parts and Service, which is an RV repair facility in Airway Heights. I think there's another one, but that's close enough.
That's a lot.
Gray Valley Investments and
Is that a holding company?
our real estate holding company.
So Steve, you're involved in a couple of them. Let's introduce you and talk about what you own right now.
Yeah, I'm Steve Jones with Windermere in Spokane Valley, Liberty Lake. I have a few, 3, 4, 5 companies, something like that. My primary company is Chrome Investments. That's what I operate my real estate under.
Yeah.
And then the girlfriend and I own a company called 217 South that we started flipping houses in, and that kind of merged more into
You got to name her, because if you don't,
Kim Hines. Yeah.
she might watch this. And
Yeah, me and Kim
got
Hines
a
and I.
girlfriend.
Yeah. She, that's turned into more of a holding company for real estate,
Yeah.
where we hold all of our rentals, and then we started a property management company called Yorkie LLC. That one has been up and running for about a year. We have another company called Fix It Spokane. That's a construction company. We're probably going to dissolve that one this year. We took our employees and let them sail on their own and got them up and running on their own company.
Yeah.
And then Tony and I own 6560.
you guys own a lot.
A little bit.
I'm a lender, W-2 lender. So two different schools of thought here. I have done what I always preach, and I have gone deep on what I'm good at, and I didn't go wide. And I think in business you have two choices, right? You can go wide, you can double down on what you're good at and go deep, or you can go wide. I think a lot of guys and ladies love to go wide because it's something new. I guess I'm starting the podcast too, but still, it's something new. And I've had other businesses, like I had a coral propagation business called Cousins Corals, where I grew, stony acropora corals and sold them online. I've tried other things, and I've helped other friends open businesses, but I've never wanted to invest in a business. I've always done loans, give somebody a loan for a business, and they're like, "Do you want to be a part of the company?" And I'm like, "No, I don't want the headache."
The additional revenue streams, depending on how well that side hustle or business is doing, it's nice even if you're just getting a small check, a 4-figure check, a month or something like that,
Yeah, just-
$1,000 or $2,000 just extra.
Just a little bit extra,
Yeah.
especially now with real estate being slower.
Yeah, absolutely. It had worked out good for us. I mean, we had a catastrophic failure this year, which was interesting. We won't necessarily go into that, but so we are looking at taking a step backwards and kind of shutting some of the companies down, more so for stress reasons.
Yeah.
Because it is stressful when you hit this point and you start looking at in the mirror and what's really important in life. But I think we'll take the step back and then I'll eventually ramp up and take the step forward again. But somebody gave me some good advice once. Scott Wetzel, the owner of the brokerage I'm at, and he owns quite a few companies as well. He always tells me rifle approach, not the shotgun approach. He goes, if you go too wide, then you lose your focus and you can't make as much money on everything as you can on the one thing that you're really good at. So he said, if you can't have other people running those companies for you, don't do them because it's going to take away from your bread and butter.
That seems to be what happens though when you start making money in a company and you see other aspects of your company. I'll pick on real estate. Like real estate companies start doing well and they're like, we should open a mortgage operation. And you talk to mortgage guys, like my boss has been doing it for over 40 years. He's like, Yeah, but mortgage is a different business.
Right.
It's like a real business. Because it's a little bit different.
Yeah.
He goes, not to say real estate's not a real business, but if you're like a realtor, independent broker, hang your license, you're kind of self-employed. Mortgage is like an entity, and all of the regulatory agencies will crawl up your ass all year long. He goes, so when they actually decide, hey, I mean, look at Keller Mortgage. I don't know if it's still around, but I think they sold to another company that's going to operate them now because they're like, we don't want to do this anymore.
Right.
Gary Keller's a pretty smart guy. He was
Right.
still like, yeah, this is weird.
Right. Or what was his true exit strategy? Was he building it just to ramp it up and sell it? You know, I mean, you
Maybe.
see that a lot in business acquisitions right now. These guys ramp their companies up just to have another big company come in.
Well,
and buy
Zillow
them.
bought a mortgage company that isn't really functioning. Like Twitter bought a mortgage company. Like there's some pretty big players that have decided like this is a space I want to get in, and then they jump in and they're like it doesn't feel the same.
Right.
Like our Idaho audit this year, rumor is it was about $100,000+ in attorney fees just to get through the audit. Like this, and the audit was fine, passed with flying colors. There was no issues. There was no penalties or fines in that. But just paying attorneys to get through the audit. So when it comes to money, you guys both know, like maybe from the house side, the auto side, like when it comes to financing, they'll crack your ass.
Yeah, absolutely.
They want to.
Most definitely.
But so all the companies are doing well. Some of them are like your companies are kind of RVs, maybe not recession proof, but
No, RVs, autos aren't even really recession proof. I mean, you still have to buy and sell a certain amount of RVs. The manufacturers aren't going to just completely shut down.
yeah,
You know, the beaters with the heaters that are on the road, those eventually are going to be at the point where you can't get parts for them anymore, or it costs too much to fix something that's not worth that. And so those cars go away.
Yeah.
So there has to be new cars, but with bad times, the volume slows way, way down.
yeah,
We saw it in '08. I was going to auctions in '08 buying stuff 50 cents on the dollar and still buying because I was like, it's going to come back around. It's going to come back around. And it took longer than I thought it was. But
it took 08 took a little bit of time.
it did. RVs slowed down a lot this year. Nationwide, RV dealers were complaining, manufacturers. You'd have to, at one point, a couple of years ago, before COVID, you'd have to beg and get on a list to become a manufactured seller. I mean, so
Yeah.
the Gulfstreams or the Forest Rivers or, you know, a manufactured brand, new. And now manufacturers are calling us.
Yeah,
Like, hey, what about this line? You want to take this and you want to take that? And it's because dealers are dropping lines because they're not selling anything. There's dealers out there with 22s on there. I finally just got rid of some of our new 22s, almost out of the 23s. And I got manufacturers hounding me to buy truckloads of 24s that I don't want.
because it's a depreciating asset. So it's like
Absolutely.
when you're selling a 22 in 2024, how much do you have to cut off what you paid for it?
There's some there's some new RV stores in Washington State that have hundreds of 22s still on the ground. Hundreds.
That's a problem.
What's with Blue Compass? They seem to have just popped up everywhere. Is it Blue Compass? Am I
Blue
saying-
Compass. So
Yeah.
that was Blue Dog, and so there's some outfits out there that are, like you were talking about, ramping up to
Sell.
be the shiny, you know, be the little shiny thing over here in the corner and getting people to pay attention. So, you know, go from 1 store to 3 stores to 8 stores, and then somebody comes along and says, "You're getting to be a little too big. I don't need you to be my competition. Before you were just, you know, you were just annoying. Now you're my competition.
Yeah, you were fun.
So now I'm going to write you a check to get you out of my life." And that's happening. Blue Compass is gobbling up a bunch of stuff. They're gobbling up stuff right next door to them
Yeah.
and then shutting those down.
They do that in real estate too.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of, I think, we won't get, I don't want to go too deep on real estate with like the compensation changes with the NAR lawsuit and stuff, but there's going to be some changes as far as who sits where and who does what, I think.
Undoubtedly, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it'll mix up a bit. And Change is constant. You just got to adapt and move. The business is going to do what it's going to do, and you just can't let the noise get to you. So
Yeah. Now I think in real estate or in anything you want to do, if you want to rent a better apartment or a better house, like you have to sacrifice. And nobody seems to want to do that.
Drive the bucket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The beater with the heater. We all had roommates when we rented our first apartment in our, late teens, early 20s. Like your first house you bought wasn't, these kids come in, they're like, yeah, I want like 3 acres on the water, just a couple thousand square feet. I'm like, yeah, me too. That sounds awesome. I'd love that too.
my first house, it wasn't in the neighborhood I wanted. It wasn't anywhere where I wanted to be, and I rented 2 of the rooms out to make the payment. It's just you're not seeing people wanting to do that right now to do whatever it takes.
And I think like I had a guy on recently, a couple guys that own local bars, and they were like, the kids just don't want to work. I'm like, I think they want to. I just think they have a really jaded expectation as to how hard they're going to have to work. Like they think they're working. They don't really understand yet what hard work is, depending on the parents, but because your kids have a good work ethic. They're not even my kids. I'm super proud of them.
I kicked their ass their whole childhood, so
Yeah.
I've got 3 of them that work for me.
That's what Catholics do.
Most definitely.
Catholic guilt goes a long way in a
And I will tell my kids, they always think I'm picking on them. I'm like, I'm not. I haven't even started picking on them yet, but I'm going to ride you harder. And some of my kids work for managers, because like you had said, in the other revenue streams, you have to put good people in charge. I can't run all those companies.
No.
So I got good people in charge, and some of my kids work for managers. My kids are not the managers yet, and I always tell the managers, my kid gets away with nothing.
Yeah.
I don't care if you let somebody else get away with it. My kid gets away with nothing.
Yeah. My dad didn't think I could work until I was like 18, and he put me on a crusher, actually a paying job. I mean, I grew up being on the rock crusher and driving the equipment and helping out here to here, but it was like a pay job. Rode my ass hard. He didn't think I'd cut it. And I was out in the middle of Lusk, Wyoming, which is nowhere USA, running a D9 Cat, trying not to kill myself. But yeah, I think a good hard work ethic is something a lot of kids don't learn anymore. And even if you're doing a desk job like we do,
Yeah.
a mental job, because you're at that point now, but you still do physical work. I still see you down at West Coast, like packing boxes. And,
Yeah, I'm never going to ask somebody to do something that I'm not willing to do too.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to do it all the time, but I will jump in there and give a hand. if
I do
need
open
to.
houses. Like people like, you still do open houses after 20 some years in real estate? I'm like, yeah, if you need me to come to the middle of nowhere at an open house on a Friday at 4 p.m, and I know damn well nobody's going to show up,
Right.
I'll still show up for you.
Right.
Usually it's my female agents. They're like, I don't feel comfortable being here by myself. And I'm like, yeah, I'll be there. I'll help you out. But my boss still does it. He owns the company. And he was just on a meeting there. He's like, yeah, I had to go do an open house with our builder. And we had like 30 people through. I'm like, shh, I wish.
That's great.
I get 6 people through and 5 of them are neighbors. But he's still out doing open houses, leading by example, which is why I stay where I'm at. My management team does loans every day. Like they're still in the trenches. They know exactly what we need. I have underwriters that are licensed to do loans. I have processors that have their licenses. Like even our operations people, they're like, get your license and do some loans if you want and make some money. Like hustle.
It's good.
Real estate's the same way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for you guys, like realtors, it's like the ones that are going to make it right now are going to hustle because you're probably going to lose how many agents you think in the next year?
I hope 1,000.
I hope 1,000.
He always has these great stats too. And
Yeah.
we were talking about it the other day about, can't remember exactly what we were talking about, but how many agents in this town had sold 1 or less houses this year?
Well,
1,500.
there's 1,897 agents in Spokane that sold at least 1 house this year. But it was over 400 of them only sold 1.
Yeah.
And there was about 300 that only sold 2. When you really start thinking about that, I mean, these agents are starving right now. There's not a lot of them. I mean, dues are coming up here at the year end. How many of them are going
Make dues.
pay their dues and,
Well, you
and
got,
continue.
what could we expect in December? 300 sales? Maybe 400?
Yeah, last year we did just over 400, so I'm guessing this year we're going to probably be in the 300 to 350 range. We got 560 pending right now, so I would say, and some of that's new construction, which will take months to
Yeah.
close out. So I would say probably 300 to 400
Yeah.
in December.
3,000 agents,
Right.
400 deals,
Yeah.
2 agents aside, and you remember that some of these agents are doing 8 to 10 of those themselves or more.
Yeah.
Like it's not even the 20% rule in real estate. It's like the
It's-
5%
Yeah, the
rule.
5% rule, really. Yeah.
5% are doing
95% over.
90%.
I bet the top 500 agents in Spokane. I mean, there are probably 8 houses or more. So there's not too many selling it.
There's been a lot of years I've checked, and it's like maybe out of all of the agents, 200 of them do more than a deal every other month. Maybe.
Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah, and that was part of the NAR thing, I think, the commission restructuring. Like, it's the last piece that the world hasn't gone after. Like, they've gone after lenders at length, which they should. There was a lot of stuff that needed to change. The government needed to revamp how they did things, but they haven't quite attacked the agents yet. And it feels like they're always looking for somebody to put under the microscope. And I guess this is the one this year.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see how that all plays out. I mean, the nice part for me is industry people are talking about it, but the clients really aren't. So
No.
I just let my competition keep the noise in their head. I'm going to work through it, and we'll take guidance. from
Well, and
government.
the good guys and gals, like the ones that are meant to be doing business, they will keep doing it.
Yeah,
Like a fluff market will bring everybody in. Like, you know what that's like a good car market, you get all kinds of guys that want to sell cars, and then
All the time.
they can't make it in the downturn.
They end up flooding the floor at the store that they're at, and the top 3 guys are still doing the same thing that they're doing. And now instead of having 3 guys on the bottom, now there's 5 guys on the bottom or 6 guys on the bottom, and they're all starving more than they were.
Yeah.
Because they all like, we're gonna get in here and kick some ass and sell some cars. And I see it all the time at these new car stores where you could pick up I don't even know what you pick up to look for jobs these days, but there's always
Your
somebody
phone.
hiring. Yeah, your phone. Somebody is always, the Honda store is always hiring.
Yeah.
The Chevy store is always hiring because the turnover is so strong. And they've got 3 guys that have been there for 30 years, and they've got 5 guys that started last month.
Well, because the potential's there. You could be like, hey man, you could make 10 grand next month.
the potential's there, but the commitment's not. Nobody
Right.
wants to commit to the long term, the longevity of it. I mean, you can go down to these RV stores, and there's RV guys making $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 a year because they've been doing it long enough and they built their clientele base. They
Yeah.
know how to work the system to make their money. I think everybody wants instant gratification. They want the money right now. Nobody wants to put in the work.
Well, it's like going to the gym and lifting weights. Like, you do it for 2 weeks, and you're like, yeah, I don't look any different. I'm done.
That's
Like,
my problem.
It's like this long-term thing. It's like, no, it's like a lifetime commitment. Like, eating healthy is like a lifetime commitment. You're not going to feel better after a month of making the right choices. Like, it's going to take months and months and months, and then maybe you'll feel better. I think the instant gratification is a big part of it. Real estate brings that in because we have so many shows like $1 Million Listing, and everybody thinks they're going to make $100,000 commission selling the biggest house in Spokane.
I mean, there's
You'd have to in this
yeah,
town.
either west side. I mean,
Or
even
south.
that $13 million apartment complex that I got, it's
Even apartments, yeah.
it's most of my inquiries are coming. Oddly enough, that property has had more inquiries than every property I've listed this
How
year.
many
combined.
doors?
51 doors
Yeah.
for. We're at 12.75 million, but we got one local guy on it, and then a bunch of people out of California. But to California people, it's 13 million isn't a lot. Like, you can't buy an apartment complex in California for 13 million.
No.
Yeah, what's that, 10 doors?
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. If you're
And
like,
this is a brand new.
guess it
product.
depends on where you're at.
Right.
Yeah.
Even in Compton, I don't think you get 10 doors for 13 million.
Right. Yeah, it's
Maybe.
crazy. So.
Yeah, during during COVID, we saw lots of people try to get into different industries that were booming, like the car business, the RV business. It was booming because if it was on the ground, it was going to sell. If it was incoming, it was going to sell. So you couldn't get enough inventory. You were selling stuff over the phone,
Yeah.
over Skype, over whatever it is. And we saw lots of new salespeople come in and thought they were salespeople. They absolutely swore up and down that they were salespeople. And then when they flicked the switch on COVID, those guys weren't selling anything. And they're like, we're not selling anything. Like, it's because you don't know how to sell.
Because you're order takers.
Yeah,
Right.
you're just, yes, ma'am, yes, sir. You want the new 23 Honda Accord? Yeah. And now, I got to go try to sell a 21 Honda Accord. I don't know anything about it. What do you mean you don't want to just take it without looking at it? So
Yeah.
these guys, and they've all flushed and they've gone to, crappier jobs, and now they're working back at McDonald's because,
Mortgage did that too. Like when they had all kinds of products, guys would be like, "Yeah, I can do a stated income loan at a 550 credit score," and it's like, "Well, you want to be the king of the shit? That's fine." And they made a lot of money being the king of the shit until that product went away, and then they went and sold something else. They went to Verizon or sold appliances, like still stand up jobs, but they were just like, you didn't diversify as far as your knowledge. We had this talk the other day with my people, my loan officers, because we had a rep from Title I come in and just talk about marketing. And it's like, yeah, you meet people, think of people in your sphere, like basic 101 type, just marketing. And then when she left, I'm like, guys, all of that shit's cool. And I get it. You got to talk to people, you got to meet people, you got to do social media. But the knowledge that you have and what you know about your job is what's going to give you sustainability. Because you can, like, imagine if I'm a cop. I'm like, I want to be a cop. And I'm 140 pounds. I've never been punched in the face in my life. And I have no training. I'm going to go out and make contact with some bad guys. That doesn't mean I'm going to arrest them.
Right.
Like, if you don't have the skill set, all of the desire in the world to make contacts is not going to get you business. And that's kind of, I'm like, her job as a rep is just to make contacts. That's literally all she does. Know me, send me some stuff, let me just get in front of you, and that's her job. Because Title I just opened up a spot. They bought the old Liberty Escrow,
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
so it's going to be a Title I office now. But, and it's like, that's her job, but our job goes deeper. It's not just making contacts. Like, you have to know what you're selling, because we're not really selling a product. Like, I've tried with Mark Vandermost. Mark's a great salesman. I used to be like, come do mortgage. He's like, I can't sell something I can't touch. Like, you know Mark too.
I don't.
You might not.
is
Yeah.
he still doing Fred's Appliance?
He was doing appliances. Last time I knew, he was doing appliances over in Seattle, but
yeah.
he's such a family guy that I think when they moved and he's not like right here, he just kind of falls off. He doesn't talk to people unless they're right there. But he's like, I can't sell something that's not tangible. I've talked, my brother-in-law sold Porsche, he sold Benz, like he's sold Hummers and Kias and everything you could think of. And he's just like, I need a product. Like, you come to me, I have a product, I can sell it. I just can't sell just service.
Right.
And that's all I do. Like, you sell houses, you get the sexy part of the transaction because
Right.
you have the magic key that opens the door, and everybody wants to see the house, and they could care less about talking to me. You have it a little harder because you sell an asset, but it's a depreciating asset, and everybody wants it, but it's still like the sexy thing. Like,
It's an impulse thing for the most part.
it's a status thing too.
It is.
Like, if you can't buy $1 million house, but you could drive a brand new Yukon or a Hummer or something.
G-Wagon or something.
I know guys that sleep in their cars. They got a baby mama's couch they're sleeping on, but they got a $80,000 car.
Yeah. To feel good. I think I sent it to you recently. I think it was Dan Bilzerian on his podcast that they were talking about recently, where they were talking about how everybody wants all the nice stuff, and then once you make enough money to have all the nice stuff, what you want is all the stuff that money doesn't cost.
Yeah.
That money can't buy. You want the time with your friends. You want the time with your family.
You want your health.
Yeah. He talks about he bought a Ferrari and he drove it once and sold it because he was like, it sounded like a good idea, but then when I bought it, I never used it. And he goes, it just, the money eventually means nothing.
Jim Carrey said that. He goes, it was a quote, and I posted on Facebook once, and it said, I wish everybody could get rich beyond their wildest dreams, so they realized that that's not the answer. And I posted that, and I got so much negative feedback from so many people who were like, "That's easy for you to say," and I'm like, "I'm not rich. Like, I might do well.
Making a great living and being rich are two different things.
Very different.
And rich doesn't even have to have anything to do with money.
No,
It could be all about what you care about.
yeah,
The happiest months of my life are the months I'm in my RV at the lake.
At the
It's
lake.
not
Totally.
living in my house that I make a catastrophically high monthly payment on. It's
this
like I'd
week is
rather-
one of the happiest because I know from tomorrow till basically Monday, nobody's gonna call me. Like everybody's gonna be doing their family thing. Like I'm just gonna get zero contact.
Well, I'm going to interrupt that a little bit because you had a client reach out to me and I'm meeting with them Monday. So
Okay,
you,
well,
you might actually get through the weekend,
if
but
you-
we're working on that.
So if you get me through, limited people will call me. But
On-
still,
on-
did they actually reach out to you? That's good.
Today, yeah.
That's awesome.
On Thursday, Steve's going to be fielding calls like, "Can we go see the house?" Because that's how it works.
Last Thanksgiving, we were talking about a piece of property. You
Yep.
went and-
I took an application last Thanksgiving of somebody that came into town and decided that they might want to buy here, and they wanted me to talk. I've been in people's hotel rooms on Christmas Day.
yeah.
There's nothing weird about that, but it's not going to be all day, right? Like I might
Depends on
have to
what you're in
step
their
out.
hotel room for.
I might have to step out for an hour, but then, or two. But like during the week, and you're the same way with your job and your job, you just never know. It could be 7 o'clock in the morning till 7, 8 o'clock at night. You could be sitting down to eat that sandwich that you've been thinking about for the last 2 hours, and phone rings. And it's somebody you have to talk to, and it's something you have to do, and you just have to put your whole life on hold and go, okay, let me pick this up, and then it's an hour.
The last vacation I took, thankfully I've got some pieces in place now, but and that was the start of having all those puzzle pieces in place. But
Yeah.
we were 6 hours on a road trip, and my phone was ringing, and I ended up selling 14 properties while I was on vacation, and it's tough. You don't get a vacation, you don't get
Yeah.
time to stop, and if you're a business owner, you understand that your phone's always on, you always have to be working. Some days it's like it'd be nice to be a W-2 job where you can not pick up that phone if you want sometimes, but when you're paid on commission or you're
I'm W-2'd, but I'm full commission.
yeah, that full commission thing.
I don't get
gets
the
you.
write-offs.
Yeah, there's days where it'd be nice just to have that no worries on end of it, but
I was in Ireland for the Notre Dame Navy game in August, and Ireland is 8 hours ahead. And so at 4 a.m. Ireland time, the phone just always ringing because that's 8 o'clock here, or
Yeah.
midnight Ireland time because that was still just 4 o'clock here,
right.
and just getting phone calls. And I'm just like, do these guys know that I'm on Notre Dame time? No, they don't. They didn't care. But
Did Notre Dame win though?
they did.
Okay.
Only by like 45 points or something.
But that's what people don't want to give up. There are people that want that job, that want the money, and they look at their phone when it rings, and they just silence it. Well, that's shit, but yeah, it's 3%. No, it's
I was at the doctor this afternoon, and my phone probably rang 10, 12 times, and I had somebody saying, "Are you ducking me? I'm at the hospital. I mean, the doctor for 45 minutes. What do you mean, am I ducking you? Just give me a few minutes."
that sounds like a friend.
friend, coworker.
Sounds like
yeah.
something I would have said.
Yeah. Like, what are you doing? Like, I've been at the doctor for 45 minutes. I'm doing nothing. Just,
Yeah, the day I can retire and throw my cell phone in the lake will probably be one of the happiest days of my life.
Absolutely. I can't wait for it.
In the meantime, I'm perfectly happy, but that was always the question about getting rich. I know one guy, my Uncle Jerry, is like rich for real. Like, weird amount of money. And he's so generous, and I love him to death. He's in his 70s, and it took a long time as I got older. We start golfing together, hang out, because I'm like, I don't know what to do with you. Like, you're ordering $500 bottles of wine. Like, you want to hang out. It's like you're fucking paying for it, because
right.
I have like $10. I was thinking Burger King, not
Right.
Clinker Daggers and $1,000 bill. But he works all the time because he's got hundreds of people that count on him to continue to do work. And it's like everybody asked, wouldn't you want that? I'm like, not really. man, I don't want to work until I hit the grave. And some guys do, and some guys don't. But he's got this responsibility to take care of all these people. And some of these people have been with him 30, 40 years. They got college funds, they got pensions, they got all kinds of stuff on the line, and that's all on his shoulders.
Life makes you do that, and I'm learning. So it's like I didn't want to slow down. It was grind as much as you can, and eventually life was like, yeah, you're gonna have to slow down now.
Health
it's
will
not an
slow you
option.
down.
Yeah, health definitely. People got to learn that you got to protect your health a little bit too.
I know that realtors never stop working because as we were out at the lake this year, I put an offer on a piece of property while we were at the lake, and Steve's girlfriend, Kim, couldn't enjoy the boat. There was no alcoholic beverages for the day because she was writing an offer
Yeah.
that didn't go through. But she's on the boat. We're at Button Hook, weren't we?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, we're at Button Hook. She's on the boat. Everybody's having fun, bumping jams. Everybody was drinking. Kim's just like, just waiting for the internet to come back in so I can finish this bullshit offer here for Tony. And
Yeah.
I mean, that was a Sunday in the middle of the afternoon on a boat in a bikini, just working.
No, it happens. 2020, like the day that everything shut down. So March 5th, something like that.
Something like
I thought
that.
it was May 5th, wasn't it?
Day in infamy.
Or whenever, March or May, somewhere in there. Was it May?
I think it was May.
No, because May would have been Anna's birthday. I'll have to look.
I think
Maybe
it
it
was
was
March.
But
It was
anyway,
early in the year.
2020, it was like the 5th of the month. We had our President's Club trip for Premier Mortgage to Hawaii. So everybody that, makes President's Club gets to go. So we all get in like the 4th. And then the 5th was when the feds dropped the federal funds rate to like nothing. And the rates went to like two something, 2.25, 2.5. And all of our top producers in the company were not enjoying their Hawaii trip. They were all in their hotel rooms locking loans. I must have locked $10 million in loans like the first day because you just start calling people that wanted to refi but couldn't. And I had a lot of VA buyers, and VA refis are easy. Interest rate reduction loan. There's no appraisal, there's no income verification. So it's like, Justin, VA refi 2.5%, yes or no? Yes, okay, boom. Hey, Mary, VA refi, 2.5%, yes or no? Like, and there was a few that were like, I heard the rates might go negative like in Europe next year. I'm going to wait. And it's like, okay, goodbye, click. But everybody was busy. So you don't get a vacation when you make hay while the sun shines. When it's time to make money, you make money. It doesn't matter if it's midnight, if it's 6 a.m., somebody else will take it from you.
Absolutely.
Somebody else will want to work. But it's weird now because I don't know if kids have that work ethic.
I think some do. Your kids do, Tony. That's for sure.
It has to be taught, though. I mean, I grew up on a farm, so I had built-in work ethic by the time I was old enough to go out into the workforce. But
Yeah.
you have to, obviously, if you grew up on a farm, you're probably going to raise your kids a similar way, even if they're not on a farm.
Yeah.
You're going to kick their ass and you're going to tell them this is how it's going to be.
Right.
But you don't have to grow up on a farm to learn work ethic. You just have to do what you're told or what you say you or agreed to do. Some of my biggest issues in the world right now are because most people don't do their job right. They do it flippantly. They're there to get a paycheck. They're not there to complete the tasks that their job requires.
You hold people to a high standard too, though.
I mean, if we don't hold them to a higher standard, then basically we're just hoping for a gray world, just
It's not a bad thing.
halfway do something
Yeah.
and here's your reward for halfway doing it. You tried hard enough.
I've seen you with a lot of your employees, though. I feel like you're fair and you're honest.
Oh, yeah.
And you take care of them. I think most of them don't respect that. And I think after they shot themselves in the foot, I think half of them are going to look back on it and say, man, I really should have stepped up to the plate with Tony a little bit more. You know?
I typically don't have people that leave us unless it's extreme. And recently we've had a couple of people that no longer work for me and for extreme reasons.
Yeah.
They'll wish it's tougher out there than it was with me. And if you do the job right, that's all I want. If you do your job the way I'm asking you to do it, you're going to be paid well.
Right.
Yeah.
That's all you got to do. Just do as you're asked.
I think growing up, like my dad's by far the hardest worker I know. I don't know anybody that'll outwork him still to this day, and he's in his 60s now. I think he just turned 60 this year, but I tell everybody still to this day, I learned my work ethic from my dad, and people are like, you're working all the time, and I'm like, my dad still to this day works more than I do. And just last week, he tried retiring last year, and they wouldn't let him retire, so they talked him into working from home part time, and then he drives over to Seattle to work in the office.
I think that's
one
good.
week- one
Like,
week a month. Well, we were worried that
Yeah.
he'd just keel over, going from 80, 90 hours a week to no hours a week.
my
So
dad retired and was dead within like 2 years, just drank himself to death.
That's
Like, retirement's hard on a lot of guys.
I think you just got to keep moving to stay healthy, to stay
100%.
young.
He tried. I mean, he was on the, I mean, he could keep moving, but he could keep drinking too.
yeah.
Like they had a ranch and he had to fix fences, do sprinklers, get this, get that. Like, he was still going to the crusher and helping. Like, he still had things to do. He just didn't have to be sober to do them. Right?
That all happened. Luckily,
So-
my dad's not a drinker.
Think of like being on, if you remember, because you guys aren't drinkers now, but if you remember when you were a drinker and you were on vacation, you would start drinking early.
Yeah.
You wake up, you make breakfast.
8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning, crack one.
You're having a beer, or you're having a Bloody Mary or a screwdriver with breakfast. You're cooking, like, so it's like retirement's like the eternal vacation. And if you're a drinker and you like drinking, then retirement.
I think retirement is drinking. All the retired people I know,
That's
all they
do.
do is drink or
Yeah.
go to the casino.
You can't do that forever, though, right?
I'm not interested in the
Well,
casino
I mean,
or
they
the drink.
technically do it for forever.
Yeah.
There was a who was it? I'm trying to think of who it was. Gary Vee, somebody, was a rich guy, and he was like, when you think of retirement, you think of like, or no, Jordan Peterson, Dr. Jordan Peterson. He's like, you think of like Mai Tais on the beach. Well, sometimes. Like, sure, you're going to do that, but you're not going to do that every day, all the time. Like, you still
It's
need,
not sustainable.
no, you need something. You need some kind of purpose. You need something. I was sending my dad, like, build your own knife, like from the Man Crate. You know, here's a box, build your own knife. Do this. He started making jewelry. It didn't help, but I think
Right.
for a guy like him, work was his identity. So if you identify with who you are at work, my uncle Jerry, I feel like it's a lot of that way. I think that he gets a lot of his identity there, like, you know, because he could retire well with lots of money. I mean, shit, his girlfriend's like 29 years old. He's like 75.
Good for him.
Like, he'd go retire and just do that, you know, have fun. And he's still working. So, you know, that's two schools of thought. But the world needs ditch diggers too, right?
Absolutely.
Because if everybody could get their dream job, like if you had $1 million, what would you do? That they need to change that narrative. It used to be like if you had $10 million, what would you do?
Right. Shoot, ditch diggers make good money these days.
They do.
They do.
Like 10 grand to dig in a sewer line
Kids need to
50
stop.
feet to the house.
Relying on college so much and start looking at the trades. The
I
trades
saw
are paying
Taco
big.
Bell was paying on their reader board the other day, like $18 to start.
It's wild.
Steve's working though.
Well, that's Super Steve. Didn't you see somebody found a picture of him, a Super Steve picture on the internet the other day?
I saw that. I was gonna be like, you two should get a room.
Oh, he's got these googly eye things. The
I got
little
more.
eyes.
I got more in the works.
They're everywhere. I walked out to my motorhome one day and there's googly eyes on my motorhome. I was like, come on.
We used to do that on the Facebook Messenger when we were all on the same messenger board. There was like 20 dudes, 20 lowrider dudes, and everybody pissed each other off eventually, and it went away.
Yeah, it went away.
But we used to. It was always a crotch shot. It'd be like a picture, and then you'd focus in on their crotch. But I don't see much there.
Steve loves the googly eyes. You know when you used to come off of the freeway headed west and come off at Pines, right where Sounds on Wheels is right there, and then at that light, there's the green, like freeway road board.
Yeah.
Forever there was two big googly eyes there.
Oh, really?
And you can still see like where the sticker was, but this was years ago, and the remnants of it is still there. But
Was
somebody
it
walked by.
the was
and
it the moon eyes, like the car parts?
Yeah, but Tony's got the ones where they got like
They
they're
move,
free
they
floating
move around.
eyes.
Yeah, on Amazon it was 1,000 googly eyes for $7 or something. I'm like, I cannot pass that up.
Why
They're
not?
everywhere.
And it started because he went into I think Rosars one day or something, Safeway.
Safeway, yeah.
And a picture of him had googly eyes on it. And he's like, who would do this? Who's carrying around googly eyes in the grocery store?
I would do some shit.
And puts it on my picture. And I'm like, I'm going to run with this.
Yeah. There's googly eyes everywhere.
I had benches at like the golf courses, you know,
Yeah.
with like your mortgage ad or whatever, and people would draw like swastikas on my forehead and scratch my eyes out. And they constantly
At
had-
golf courses?
Yeah.
Those
Oh
are
yeah.
not the high-end golf courses, obviously.
Doesn't matter. Well, no, you're not going to be out at like Black Rock with a picture of me on a bench, but if you're talking
No, I was
public.
talking about the swastikas.
Yeah, like you're like at a public course like Downriver or Wandermere or something like. Yeah, there's no holds barred on what you would do to a 1x2 picture of me on a bench.
Right.
I wish I had a marker because I do that to all the realtors and lenders on the shopping carts and stuff.
Right, yeah. Mine was on something in Safeway. I don't remember what it was, but
Well, once I started attacking moose and putting the googly eyes on moose, Steve was like, wait a minute.
That's where you drew the line.
This is not okay.
leave my dog out of it.
Well, so when I was at First American Title, like I started in title insurance, there was a guy and he's the sales manager now, or he might be doing something else down there. His name's Scott Fonte at First American.
I think Scott's still there.
Yeah, he's a super nice guy. And he was like head of the examining department, which was like underwriting. I was an examiner and we'd underwrite title all day. And I used to flip him shit. And then he got braces. Like he was probably 30s, early 30s. He got braces. I had braces for like 6 years, like all through junior high and like from the 5th grade to like 11th grade. I had braces. I got so much shit. So I give people shit with braces just because I went through it. I feel like I deserve to give it back a bit.
Picturing you had these massive braces.
Dude, I had like headgear I'd
With,
have to
with the
wear.
little
to-
wire that went around the
Yeah,
front.
I'd have headgear I'd have to wear to school. Like I just
You know, Donnie is, how old's Donnie? 45 or 46, and he's got braces.
yeah. So Scott gets him, and I took his business card, and I took some tinfoil from a piece of gum, and I put it across his teeth because he had this big smile, and then I whited out his name, and it said Scott Fonte, proctologist. I wrote in proctologist, like typed it in, and I made a photocopy of that and blew it up, and I faxed it because he was a sales rep at the time. I faxed it to like all of his accounts because he was doing all lenders, so all of his lenders got this fax. And dude, he came into it. He's like, "Who the f did this?" Every single office I went into was cracking up, and I'm like, "Yeah, that was me." But that's what guys do. I think it's fun. I like when my buddies rip on me or rip back.
I think Steve's an easy target. He gets picked on by all of our friends.
Yeah. There's a restaurant,
They're just
floating
jealous.
restaurant out in Bayview, and he'd pay the local singers to sing songs about Steve Sucks.
There are a couple of good renditions, like because they'll just be out there singing. They got a guitar and a mic, and be like, "Here's $20 off the top of the head right now. Steve Sucks, go." And some of them were like, "No, I'm not going to do that." Like, here's another 20. I bet you will. There's a couple of good Steve Sucks songs.
Do the how many times a day one. You heard that? The band. It was in. Do you ever watch like the Workaholics? It's a comedy show.
No,
Pretty funny, but this band and they sing like, how many times a day do you wish you had a bigger dick? You're like, this one's for Steve. Do that at the bar next time.
Okay.
And he's got to give a number.
all right.
No, I think I've gotten in trouble with girlfriends on that because you kind of like, you give your guy friend shit and then you do it to your lady and they get pissed. And you're like, this is what I've been doing all day.
They
It's
just
what,
need thicker skin. That's all.
it's what I'm used to.
Kim's getting used to it.
I have trouble transitioning into from clown mode into back to professional mode because we'll be eating lunch with some of the guys and we'll just be talking shit and the waitress will come by and be like, "That's the hair you came to fucking work with today?" And be like, "Oh shit." Like, she might take that wrong, but most of them are like, "Well, fuck you too."
No, good wages worth their weight in gold. The last few guys I had on have been, bar owners like McCracken's down by
yeah.
Marshall's old lot, down by West Coast. Scoreboard, Bryce from Underdogs and stuff, and listening to them talk about employees, like having to hire people. You do it more than me and Steve do, but I mean, even in mortgage, we still have operations staff, and it's hard to find good people that will do the job. And you always have somebody that works. My assistant was that way, Shannon. She worked her ass off. I paid her well. Like, she was making 10 grand plus a month, like in the good years, you know. And we'd hire somebody at the front desk to do this or that. She's like, they're lazy, they're not working. I'm like, you think everybody should be where you're at. Like, that's the mistake. Like, everybody is not going to have your drive. They're not going to have your intelligence. She just didn't see her own abilities, right? It was hard for her to understand, if I can do it, she can do it. And that's how she thinks. And I'm like, no, it's not true. You can motivate her.
It should be true, but
Should be, but
yeah.
it's not. I don't know if you have a...
Nobody, I mean, I can't, not everybody can be as good at selling real estate and as good looking as me and all that stuff all in one.
Or even have your drive,
Right.
your determination, or your personality, or your winning smile.
Right. I say that all the time to Kim. I'll get off the phone with one of my clients and I'll be like, but you don't talk to your clients that way? And she's like, never in a million years. Like, my clients are just different.
But looks isn't everything. Like, I've had friends that have had girls, you know, they're like, yeah, man, she's super hot. I should get her. She could be my assistant. She'll get out there and get me some realtors and do some business. I said, or they'll waste her fucking time.
100%.
I've said that on every podcast we talked about business. I'm like, you can think that being pretty or being something is going to get you business. And I don't know what the equivalent would that be for guys, like being muscular, or even guys thinking they're good looking, they're going to get business. It's like, no, they'll waste your time. You'll get 50 lunches a year and a bunch of coffee dates, and you won't get one freaking deal out of them. They're just trying to get your old lady into bed.
I tell people I'm not pretty, but I can sell houses.
Well,
I'm good at it.
That's back to having to have some substance behind what you do.
Yeah.
You can't just want it, and you can't just show up, and you can't, I mean, showing up is half of it.
Yeah.
Wake up, take a shower. Even when I was a painter, when I was roofing and painting houses, I would still wake up, take a shower, put on clean clothes that were covered in paint, but they were fresh out of the washer and dryer. Like, you know, brush your teeth, do your hair, clean your nails, get ready for the day to go get dirty.
Get presentable, yeah.
Like, if I just woke up, threw on some clothes, didn't take a shower, the day sucked. People that don't show up for the day, like, I don't know how they get through the day. It's got to be depressing and hard. Like, I can't just wake up and throw on some shit. Even if I come to the gym and work out, like, I got to wash my face, I got to brush my teeth, I got to put on some clean clothes and walk out here to my gym and work out. I can't just roll out of bed and throw on whatever's there. So I think showing up's half of it, but you still have to know what you're doing,
Yeah.
especially in real estate. You got to have the knowledge.
Yeah. I think in anything that you're going to be a master at what you do. I mean, just like you with cars and RVs, it's not, I mean, we've proven it time and time again, not everybody can do it. Not everybody can own a store.
Well, how much money could you spend in inventory if you did know what you were buying?
A lot.
Bond.
Like,
can
it
make,
could
you can
put-
make some big mistakes real quick.
Could put you out of business.
Absolutely. In a heartbeat.
Like, you buy too much of the wrong thing that's not going to sell, or too expensive for the time, or
And just not forecasting the market, just not knowing what we're doing right now in the market.
I know nothing about cars. I just know whatever I think a car is worth, 10 car guys are going to tell me, oh man, it ain't worth that. It's worth like half that. So I think, you know,
Typically, those guys don't have the money, and that's why they think it's worth half. We get that all the time. Your car's not worth that. It's worth, your car's not worth $5,000. It's worth $2,000. But just because that's what you have is $2,000 doesn't mean my car's only worth $2,000.
Right.
Happens all the time. Drives me
I'll start using that
insane.
one. Like, I had my Challenger, and I'm like, I don't know if I bought it. It was a good idea to buy it, so I'm like a daily driver and don't put miles on the truck because trucks are so expensive. I'm like,
You've had fun with it.
no, it's been fun, but I put way too much money into it. Like, got the interior done at
interior done.
Jacobs, like new leather and rims and a system, and I'm like, and my buddies was trying to buy it, but he's a total car guy, and he was just lowballing me. And I'm like, I can't do that, man. He's like, why? It's only worth like 12. And I'm like, it's worth more than 12. And he goes, nah, not really, man. Like, this year the banks won't even loan it for more than 12, so you're not gonna be able to sell it to anybody unless they have cash. Well, if somebody has cash and come buy it, like, that way they don't have to spend $2,500 on rims and $2,000 on a system and $5,000 in interior. Like, they'll just get that for free if they just pay book.
Right.
But I'm a salesman, dude. I'm a total laydown. I would say you're not.
For the most part, I am, because I don't have, like, the wife typically gets a new Cadillac every year.
But do you
just
go
like,
into
give me-
Best Buy and like negotiate for the TV?
I don't do Best Buy at all. But no, I do not.
Do you I negotiate nothing. Somebody's like, here's what it costs, and I'm like, that sounds fair.
I appreciate the amount of time that I can save when I'm in that situation.
Yeah.
I don't want to spend 2 hours fucking around over, can I get a $30 discount or $300 discount?
Like, you're not going to drive to 10 stores to see who has the best price on a
No.
humidifier. You're just
I'm going to drive
buy
to the
this one.
closest store that has what I want so I can get in and get back out, because I don't have the time.
I think that's most salespeople. I think we're all laydowns, to be
100%
honest.
on the lay down.
Absolutely.
Because we know what it's worth, and it's that old adage, like, you're not paying me $5,000 to do an hour's worth of work. You're paying me $5,000
For my
because I
experience.
spent 20 years learning how to do this job in an hour.
Make it make sense to me. That's the key. If you can make it make sense to me, then chances are I'll sign up for it.
Yeah. It's interesting how that'll change your perspective. Like you were talking earlier, getting sick or anything that happens, it'll kind of change your perspective. And I'm still there and I'm still ready to hustle, but I really haven't this last 2 years.
Yeah,
I'd like to.
I mean, the blessing is, you haven't had to hustle, so you've been able to navigate.
But
some of
God's
your
provided.
problems. 100%.
Yeah. Like flat out. He's just, and then just the last 3 days, $1.5 million in loans and contracts showed up on my door.
That's huge.
Is that because the rates went down a tiny bit?
No, I just think, I don't want to be obviously hard work pays off, and I don't want to just be like, it's just God.
Right.
You can't just do nothing.
God's not just handing you loans for sure, but
No, I think when you're willing to help and you're willing to give back, I think God will take care of you. And that doesn't mean you could just do whatever. You can't jump off a building and be like, if God wants me to live,
right.
he'll break my fall. But
Christy Kirkuda, she's an agent in Spokane.
Yeah.
And she talks to me a lot about that whole go-giver mindset and how you got to take care of people. And she'll be like, if you're in line at a grocery store and somebody's card declines, just pay for it.
I do,
Don't
yeah.
ask questions.
All the
just-
time.
Just pay for it, because those people came in, they expected. Those are the people that really, really need it. You don't know those people holding the sign on the side of the road. You don't know whether they need it or it's an addiction or whatnot. But if you see somebody that truly needs it, take and help them. And God will provide back to you.
always.
Yeah.
Tip your
all three of us,
bartenders well, tip your waitress well. Like, even if they do a shitty job, I'll still give them a good tip. If
100%.
anything, I can turn it around for that day, and maybe it'll cheer them up, and they'll treat everybody else better. If I just go in there a lot and they're always just kind of a pain in the ass, I'm like, well, this lady just clearly is unhappy.
Right.
But I'm a big believer in giving back. You can't take it with you. Everything we have, we're renting. The cars, the boats, the houses. You're
Time.
just renting this shit, man. And when you die, you don't get it anymore. You can't take any of it with you.
I only got a boat to keep up with the Joneses.
No, I think the boat's badass. I'm not a boat guy. I said boat like twice.
Right.
No, I'm not a boat guy. Like, if I lived on the lake, I would have a boat. But the idea of going to the lake to be on a boat, it's different for
See,
me.
I think if I lived on the lake, I wouldn't need the boat. Like, that's the flip side.
I would love the boat on the lakes. I'd love to cruise around. But the idea of having the hassle of having to load it up, get it there, or pay to moor it, and then the limited amount of time. It's the same as a pool up here. It seems like a waste of time because you barely get to use it unless it's indoor.
I couldn't be out, like, we were always loading our skis up every weekend and running up to Sandpoint, all the way up to Sandpoint to go skiing, and I didn't mind that, but a boat is a little bit more work to get in and out of the water, and my boat, if it was not moored, I would have been out there maybe 2 times because of the amount of work that it takes to get it in the water and back out of the water. So if I wasn't mooring it, I wouldn't have been out there.
That's the understanding. Same with buying an RV. I love my RV. you don't want one. Like, you use one, but you don't like want to own one.
Right.
I love mine. Like,
You know
that's
what RV stands for, right?
What?
Ruined vacation.
yeah.
It's not a matter if it's a matter of when they break.
Oh yeah, they will. Yeah. No, I had that this year, like 7,800 miles, and only like 3,700 of those I put on, and it's misfiring on the way to play in a golf tournament with the Walla Walla manager. And then no, and the dealership was like, well, I don't know what to tell you. It's a Ford issue. I'm like, fuck off. I just,
Coil packs or something.
well, you bought this like 2 years ago. I'm like, I put less than 4,000 miles on it, and it's
Should last more
misfiring.
than 2 years.
Like, you should be fixing this. And then you call Ford, and they're like, well, we don't take it. You have to go to Portland.
It works out really good if you just have Tony at the lake with you, because then when your RV breaks, then he just comes and helps work on it.
He wishes. No.
No, that's
That's
true
what
thing.
happened.
He didn't have AC for most of the summer,
Yeah.
even in the dog days. And I'm just like, I had a couple of techs out there that don't work for me now, and they couldn't figure it out. And I'm just like, well, fuck this. I'm just gonna do this. I went out there. He wasn't. I think it was like a Monday or something like that, and I just stayed on the phone with tech support and just walked everything through this thing. And the guy's like, it's a wire, like. No.
It was that easy for me, too. It was the lead coil wire.
Is that all? Yeah.
Yeah, which was a common issue, and I told R&R RV that, and they didn't fucking fix it. Like, you spend $200 and some thousand on something, it's been in the shop more than it's been on the road, and they're like, well, it's a Ford issue, and I'm like, you sold it. If you don't back Ford, then don't fucking sell them. Or if you do sell them, then become a Ford service
Certified.
department. And if you're not doing that, it's because you want to just take my money. Because they're like, we can fix it, but we're not going to warranty it. So we're just going to charge you. And I'm like, so the $10,000 warranty plus the bumper to bumper is only as good as a $2,000 tow job to Portland. And then Ford opens it up and says, oh, it was just a marmot chewed through your wires. That's not a warranty issue. Pay another $2,000 to tow it back and fix it yourself. And I found a local Ford dealer, and I promised I wouldn't tell anybody who it is until they get their commercial dealership up and running. But once they do, I'll say. But I called the guy, and I'm like, dude, I won't tell anybody. And James Santoro at Gee, a friend of mine, gave me the name. He's like, call this guy, tell him you know me. So it's all about who you know in this world.
Santoro's good people.
He's great people. And when he was going through some shit, I think getting a divorce, he's like, I need some furniture. I'm like, I got like $4,000 in couches because I was getting a divorce. I'm like, I don't want them. She picked them out, and she's still a friend, but I don't want her couches, and she doesn't want them. She wants to start new. So you can have them. Just come get them. Nobody's ever sat on. It's one of those living rooms nobody sits in. And he's like, awesome, man, if you ever need anything. And then finally I was like, hey,
I do need
calling in a favor. Like, do you know a service writer at Ford that can take this RV? Because I think it's just from what I saw online. And my buddy knew immediately. He's like, yeah, it's probably just the coil wires to the distributor.
instantly
Like,
what I thought
that
too.
was a recall from 2020. That's when yours was built. He goes, should be an easy fix. He goes, you can drive it home. It's just in limp mode. It won't go fast. Just don't rev it. And everybody's like, well, don't drive it. I'm like, okay. Can I bring it back to you? And they're like, well, we can't fix it. I'm like, where am I supposed to take it? And they're like, I don't know. Call a Ford dealer. And that pissed me off. That's like the biggest thing I've ever spent money on.
You could have fixed that at this Ford store, locally.
They wouldn't.
Well, if you would have paid for
Corwin Ford? Oh, yeah.
it. If you would have just said, get in there and diag it, spend an hour.
Well, none of the Ford dealers here locally would take it. They're like, we don't work on RVs.
What?
R&R would.
No, Corbin works on all kinds of Ford.
They didn't. They wouldn't take it. They said, what
Maybe
is
yours
it?
was too big for it.
Well, yeah, and I'm
Maybe.
like, it's engine work. I'm not asking you to pick it
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
It was the same thing when the sway bar was falling off, wasn't even connected. And I'm like, can you fix it? And they're like, well, you got to go to Seattle. Like, so you want me to drive to Seattle with like 20-some thousand pounds with the rear sway bar falling off?
R&R could have done that because they have the lifts.
They did, and they charged me. But they wouldn't warranty it because it's a Ford problem.
Ford
It's
problem.
not an R&R problem, which I understand. Like,
So when the motorhomes are built, the motor chassis, everything is built at the manufacturer. Ford builds all that, and then it goes to the brand of
Mine's a Fleetwood, so it goes to Fleetwood.
Goes to Fleetwood. So Fleetwood doesn't take responsibility for what happened before it gets there.
Doesn't take responsibility for the chassis.
Right.
So engine, chassis, drivetrain, it's on Ford. Well, bullshit. Nobody will work on it. So it's could you? Tony sells mostly bumper poles, fifth wheels.
As far as new, we only sell towables. We
Yeah.
don't sell motorized new.
Yeah.
New is just new motorized. They're just so expensive, and I don't have the space out at our.
I got one for sale. I just buy it.
Steve might need one. Does the air work?
Everything works.
Okay.
No, I like it. I love it. Like I don't want to get rid of it, but yeah, it's expensive. They're expensive to work on.
Oh, absolutely.
But it's like for me, it's like a second house. Like I just know if everything goes bad, that's paid for. I owe nothing on it, so I could just sell this, get my RV, and go park at Tony's house
Run it up to Secret Spot, Washington, and
in
just
Secret Spot, Washington,
yeah.
which is only like 10 minutes from here.
Let's not tell everybody that. Well, Steve's got 5 acres behind his house too, so that's closer.
I know it's not going to happen because all my friends are like, "Hey man, can I park my RV at your house? I'm having some trouble with my old lady. Like, can I just hook up?" So I have a 50 amp hookup, and I'm like, "No,
No, what?
I don't want to stare at your RV. It's like purple and white. It's like from 1980 something. Like, it's just a big eyesore. I don't want it back there." But more and more, I don't have water or waste management,
Right.
so I don't have any water. Where are you going to dump your shit?
Right.
Just go to hose. Let's run it in your field. No, don't do that either.
That was great. That was great out at the lake all year. That we water, electrical, shitter dump. I mean, we just absolutely loved it. We didn't have to do anything.
So you
That was
do
the
love
cheapest
RVs,
rent.
see?
I like showing up Friday night and leaving Sunday night and doing nothing, paying my $700 for rent, and just being done.
I think they're fun, man. I think it's cool you have an RV lot. I mean, I think you give a lot of people. I mean, there's a lot of families that love doing it, and especially the smaller ones and the towables. Like, you can get into them relatively inexpensive monthly,
$200 a month.
couple $100 a month, and you just have somewhere you can just go. You want to go see grandma that's 3 hours away and in Lewiston or something, like super easy. You park in front of her house. You have a cassette toilet. Like, it's, to me, it's better than sleeping on somebody's couch or on a bed with their linens. Like,
I like it because I can take my dog with me. Like,
Right.
oh man, he just taking him to the ocean and watching him run on the beach, and he just had a blast. And it's great flying to Hawaii every once in a while, but the dog doesn't get to go with, So,
no.
and for me, the dog's been a big part of my life, so I want him to take the journey.
My
too.
dog's all about the ride, man.
Yeah.
I had to put a bunch of foam blocks in the front seat in the captain's chair, and it kind of props up so he could just lay down, but he could still see out when he
Yeah.
wasn't strong enough to sit up. And he is just up and smiling, tongue out, the whole ride. All he wants is a ride. He doesn't give a shit about where you're going.
I'll have Kim sit in the back, so Moose can sit in the passenger seat.
Yeah.
He's like, dude, he's up there. Where are we going, Dad?
Lefty's right up front.
I'd have my wife sit in the back, even if there was nobody in the front seat.
Just go back there.
Wife, what do you?
Play words with friends on your
Right.
phone. Get the internet. No, I think it's a blast, man. Yeah.
There's,
Same with you guys. What are interest rates on cars? 10%?
top tier, 749
Yeah. Bottom
for
tier.
800. Yeah, bottom tier is 29.9.
Yeah.
We've got even in our industry, there's like my little buy here, pay here lot. We're 29.9. We get people turning their nose up at 29.9. We don't pull credit. Bring a down payment. We're gonna put you in the car. No headaches, whatever. 29.9. Like, oh, I don't want to pay that. Like,
But
have
you
a-
go get a
you
payday
have-
loan for like 300 and some percent.
You got a 400 Beacon. There's homeless people out there with better credit scores than you, and you don't want to pay that interest. The interest on it equates to like $170 over the course of the loan, and they're like, "Oh, that's too much." I was
A
talking
400 and something is like impressive. You have to work hard to get that
to
loan.
get down that
Work
low.
hard to be that low.
So I was talking
Or
to
just wake up and get a 400 credit score.
I was talking to Kyle over at Auto Credit, Auto Credit 4, which is Post Falls, and they had a customer Kyle or Neil? I was talking to one of them, old age, dementia. And I said, where'd you sell for the day? Like, oh, it was Kyle. We had 2, but the last one blew out in finance. Like, what happened there? He goes, well, they had the 3 repos, Wells Fargo, Reliable, and somebody else. And so we were going to carry the loan in-house, and they didn't want to pay the $29.9, so they'd called their mom, and their mom thought they should be getting 9% interest.
Because that's what she heard on
Well, of course. you know.
Facebook.
And, those 3 repos that you had, they were in the past. Those don't really count. Like 9% is where it's at now. So they got up and left. And nobody is giving these people a loan.
No.
Except for, they were going to carry that with their internal bank, which is Phoenix Financial. Or they'd have to come to somebody like me, and I'd never know if they had 3 repos because I
You don't pull their
I
credit.
don't pull their credit.
Yeah.
Right.
You're,
Do you put trackers on your cars?
let's not say.
Okay. I was just
What
curious.
what would
Like,
be
how do you
the
plan it?
see? That's what makes my world hard. Is I'm the first time where somebody wants to buy something, and you might get told no, because everything else you try and do in life, you try and buy, whether it be, rent to own furniture. You can have the big screen TV and the nice leather couches. You just pay $40 a month.
Right.
So everybody's got, and even buying cars, you could have that 500 score and somebody will still finance you somewhere. But when it comes to my world, it's like this might be the first time you get told no. No.
It's funny you said that there's renters. Do you ever see those posts on Facebook where somebody say, looking for a 3-bedroom, 3-bath for $1,500 a month?
Yeah.
And there'll be 8,000 comments talking shit about landlords and
Yeah.
how greedy they are. Oh, that should be $1,200, but they want $2,500, and these landlords are, slumlords, and they're greedy, and all they care about is their money, and they don't care about you.
They're maxed, a lot of them. They're stretched.
Yeah.
Like their money's tied up in everything. My buddy Keith with like 14, 15, 20 million in single rental occupancy, units, like renting rooms by the house, was big into affordable housing, like sat on the board at Spokane Housing Ventures, like bought the biggest house in West Central, the Muzzy Mansion, and was trying to gentrify West Central, like all by him fucking self. Like he was trying to make it work. He got so fed up with being a landlord and dealing with the city and dealing with the state and all the politics. He sold everything. He's like, I'm done.
And then it gets rid of all your affordable housing.
Yeah.
Right? And you got the city of Spokane.
You had a guy
jumping
that
in.
cared.
Right.
And really cared, like was on several boards, West Central Community Center. I don't know how many events I went there with him to, and just Keith's like trying to make a difference in West Central. Like he even just localized and picked a spot. I want to help here.
Yeah.
And all of his houses were there. Everything he was trying to do was there. Millions of dollars in real estate right there in West Central, and got so fed up last year, sold everything,
Called it quits.
invested in an apartment building, bought a house out at Lake Roosevelt that he Airbnbs now, and he's just like, I'm just done
Yeah.
because I have no recourse to provide for my family.
Yeah. And then you get the dreamers, and they're trying to change the laws to make it more difficult on these landlords. People don't understand that slumlords exist for a reason, because there's people that need the slumlord payment, their rent
Yeah.
payment. They want that low rent payment. But now you got the city of Spokane coming in wanting landlords to be licensed and have safety and occupancy checks and stuff like that. And at the end of the day, you guys, all those costs are just getting passed on to the consumer. It ain't going to make your rent cheaper. It's going to make it more expensive. So
Yeah.
the landlords don't care that's coming to them, because they're just going to raise your rent to in
Somebody's
consideration of it.
gonna rent it,
Right.
because the amount of people that cannot buy a house, either they don't make enough money or
Seniors.
their credit doesn't. Yeah,
Seniors are getting pushed out. Like 2020 was bad because when the
they're
real
all
estate
living in
market was
apartments now.
Yeah, well, if they can. Like I had so many seniors across my desk in 2020 where, I've been renting from my friend for like 25 years. They're only paying $500 a month. And part of me is like, well, if you're only paying $500 a month, you should have been saving money.
Absolutely.
You couldn't expect that forever. You're in your 60s, you know better. But
More money for the
then
casino.
then friend dies, grandkids get the house. Oh, it's a good time to sell, and you got a month. We're selling the house, and then they're like, where can we go? What can we buy? I'm like, absolutely nothing. You could afford to rent in a HUD building. They're like, but isn't there like drug dealers and prostitutes? I'm like, probably, but that's where you're going to be. Or you got to go live somewhere other than Spokane. And that's what it turned into I probably had 20 people across my desk in 2020, 20 senior citizen couples that were just crying, like nowhere to go. I'm sending them to the nonprofit like Parkview Services or SNAP. They're looking for affordable housing. They can't get on the Section 8 housing list because it's like 3 miles long. You know, I can get you something in 2028. I mean, it was just, where do we go? And it's like, you move somewhere smaller, go to a small town, pick up and move somewhere else. And they have to leave their family and everything just to find somewhere to live. It's pretty scary.
Jelena, my daughter, we had these goals when she was younger, as a teen, and the goal was by 20 to buy a house. And when she's 20, which was a year and a half ago, she's 22 now, got the credit, high sevens, she works for me.
She credit.
She makes the good money, and couldn't buy anything. There's nothing affordable in her price range. So she had to bring her vision down. She wanted, a 3.2 and wanted to have a garage with it too. And like, you're one person. What do you need a 3.2 for? Get a 1 bedroom, 1 bath, and call it good.
Yeah.
And she's like, I don't want a shitty little thing like that. And Steve's like, the cheapest thing in the valley is this condo. And we talked about it and finally got her to go look at it. And she ended up falling in love. Really nice condo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was hard to get done though.
Yeah.
There's a few hurdles.
It
There's
was,
few.
but the cheapest thing in the valley was $200,000, and it's 800 square feet. And these guys that want to rent stuff out there, they got $1,200 or $1,500 a month, and they want $3,000 or 3,000 square feet houses.
Yeah.
Like, that dog doesn't.
She
hunt.
just needed that property as the tool to get her to the next property, and that's use that stair stepping stone.
It's
Keep
not a
that one as a
forever home.
rental.
Yeah.
And right now we're seeing a lot of people. They just think that they deserve their forever home as their first home. And I tell people, like
Right.
my first house was in Hilliard, and I rented 2 rooms out to make ends meet. It's just the way it
Mine
works.
was a
I don't
condo,
wanna-
7th and Monroe. I bought it for $54,000.
I'm on my 5th house. It took me 5
Yeah.
houses to get to my dream house.
Yeah.
You're not going to do it overnight. And I tell people, plan on 5 houses. Like, if you plan on 5 houses, you'll get there eventually.
Yeah. Yeah. The dream house. Well, they see their parents do it, and then they're like, they watch HGTV, which is garbage. Some of those shows where they're like, yeah,
I still love them.
he's a software engineer at a credit union. She works for a Lutheran nonprofit. Their budget's 1.3 million. You're like, shut up.
You're
That's
like-
not even true.
Not in real life.
I watched the renovation shows, and they were like, well, what's in your budget? Like, well, I got $350 to reno this house. And they're like 23 years old. Like, where did you get the $350
Yeah.
from?
It's crap.
It is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still entertaining. I just did a bathroom this year that Derek said was going to be 20 grand, and it was 40. For
That's
the bathroom.
crazy.
Yeah, it's never the number they say.
So what would you say? Like, we'll wrap it up on like a poignant thing for each of you, for all of us. Like, what would you?
You just learned that word today?
No, yeah,
Okay.
toilet paper of. It's got the words
Poignant?
on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
What would you say? Like the most important thing is for a young person that wants to get in business. I'll start. I really think mine. I think you. Again, I'm back to showing up for the day. Doesn't always mean you have to have a good attitude. Doesn't always mean, that you have to know everything that you're gonna do. You just have to show up. The military does that well. In boot camp, it was like you just have to wake up and you just have to try. So showing up, I think, is half the battle. If kids could just show up and just try their hardest, I think they have a good chance at someday owning a business. So, Steve, what would you say the most important thing is as far as becoming a business owner, becoming successful?
You got to want it more than anybody else. If you don't have the want, I think it was Gary Vaynerchuk said it one day when I was listening to one of his podcasts. Some people are dreamers, some people are doers. Quit being a dreamer, start being a doer. You got to be a doer, and you got to realize that nobody's going to work as hard for your company as you're going to work for your company. So get that out of your head. you have to be the hardest worker in the room. And if you don't plan on being the hardest worker in the room, don't plan on opening a business.
You have to remember that you're the hardest worker in the room too.
Right,
Like
yeah.
the expectations are going to be set differently.
And you might not get paid some days. Like there's a lot of months that I don't write myself a check. Like,
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
That'll happen.
What about you, Tony? What's the most important thing to become a successful business owner or just to own a business in general?
Definitely, you have to know your craft. I see so many people, I counsel people trying to get into business, and quite a few of them in the car business. And a lot of the guys that I've counseled, I always put a plan out. A younger guy, like, I want to get into the car business. Here's my recipe. Do this, you'll be fine. Some of those guys are doing really well right now. But just absolutely know your craft. So whatever it is, do not get into that business and half-ass know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Because if you don't know what you're doing, you don't know what the pitfalls are. If you haven't worked under somebody doing every aspect of that, and let's take the car business, if you don't know how to wash and clean and detail the cars, if you don't know how to line the lot, sticker the lot, as is the cars, if you don't know how to meet and greet the customers, finance the deal, primary finance,
How to buy your
secondary
cars
finance,
smartly if you don't know cars in general.
buy the cars, exactly. If you don't know how to do all those things, close the deal, desk the deal,
Yeah.
if you don't know how to do all those things, you're going to be a shitty car lot owner, and it's not going to be in fit business. I always think, and I'm not sure who said it, but I always think about never be the smartest guy in the room. Absolutely. If you're in business, you need to be seeking counsel of people that are doing better than you, and I do it all the time.
My Uncle Jerry's always said that. He's like, I've hired really smart people,
Yeah, you have
and it's
to.
saved me millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. So for all the kids listening, well, it's not meant for kids. I have to put that on YouTube. It's not made for kids.
For all the 20 pluses,
For all the young men listening,
right? Marines.
that's when I joined the Marines. Yeah, my senior year of high school. Yeah, it was short lived. It was like a year.
I was going to join the Marines, but they didn't want me.
You had a bad attitude.
I still do. They still don't want me.
Well, I mean, so let's end with this because this is important too. Who here went to college?
I did
4-year degree?
4 years at Eastern.
What'd you study?
I went to I went to school to be a math major.
Yeah,
So went to school to be an actuary.
yeah.
Wow, that is boring.
Super boring. I was a nerd. Glasses, braces, played in the band.
The actuary.
Yeah, that's literally just breaking down odds of shit.
Playing odds for like
Yeah.
insurance companies and stuff like that.
So, do you gamble a lot
No,
with your actuary?
I don't.
Yeah, it's a real estate.
No, once you get so far in math, there was no numbers, and I was like, my brain just doesn't like this no more. So, I
like-
just didn't follow it.
Long form matrixy algebra where you're just theorizing things.
Yeah.
Did you go to college?
Not very long, but I did.
I went for-
graphic arts.
I did too. Graphic design.
Yeah.
Spokane Falls Community College did a year.
That's where I went to.
So
Yeah.
I like how we all say we did 4 years. It's like we were in lockup, I was in jail.
I did not go 4 years. It didn't last long.
You just gotta hustle.
100%.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks guys.
Heck
It's
yeah.
good seeing you.
Thank you.
See, man.
I'll shut us down here.